I have a couple of questions. Mr. Friedman, one thing that's worth mentioning is that obviously safety is number one, and we want to be vigilant and keep making improvement. But there has been quite a success story there, in the sense that the number of fatalities on the nation's highways has been tending downward for a number of years now, and it used to be in the 40 to 50,000 range, and it's now in the 30 to 20,000 range. And I think the percentage of accidents that are due to human mistakes or peccadillos of one sort or another, as opposed to mechanical failures, has been there's been a significant improvement by the auto industry and trucking industry in trying to build more safety into vehicles, and to give people more of a margin for error, and that's continuing with the autonomous vehicle technology that's rolling out and the like. And it's we're in government doing something, but in the private sector they're actually doing quite a lot that's been very effective as well. And it's worth acknowledging that it is saving lives, and we should focus on success as well as failures, I think, because that people like to know that they're getting somewhere and not just being frustrated. But my question is that NHTSA funded the National Roadside Survey of Alcohol and Drug Drivers in 2013, and we've been hearing from citizens who encountered this survey while driving and who believe they were pulled over by law enforcement, subjected to breath, saliva, and blood samples. And since the survey hires law enforcement officers to direct traffic, and I guess they are often in their uniforms, it could appear to a motorist that they were entering into a DUI checkpoint or some sort of involuntary government search regime. And I'm certainly supportive of research on drunk and drug driving, but I'm concerned that motorists who encounter these surveys are not properly informed that the survey is voluntary. We're increasingly living in a society where people are worrying about Big Brother and government overstepping its bounds in a number of different areas, and I think we need to be sensitive to that. So my question is, how is NHTSA addressing these concerns, and what procedures does NHTSA require in order to inform the motorists that the survey is voluntary?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And quickly, relative to your first point, we look at improving safety as a partnership. It's a partnership with the states, it's a partnership with Congress, and it's a partnership with industry. We need everyone moving forward, and we've made tremendous progress in reducing highway fatalities. Our goal is to make a lot more. In regards to the roadside survey, it's definitely gotten a lot of attention. This is a very important program. It is a voluntary program. When drivers approach these sites, the very first thing that they see is a very large orange sign with the words paid voluntary survey. That is their very first indication that this is a voluntary survey. In many cases, they can be waived into the survey site by police officers. Those police officers are there because our priority is safety. The job of those police officers is to ensure the safety of the participants, to ensure the safety of the researchers, because while we're gathering this data, we need to make sure that everyone is safe. And when the driver enters the site, they are told very clearly in a very strict protocol by the researchers that this is voluntary. They are given the opportunity to drive away. In fact, when drivers first see this orange sign, about a quarter of them drive through. It's also important to note this is a voluntary survey that collects anonymous data purely targeted at alcohol and drug use among drivers. I believe we've taken every effort to make sure that that is clear. In fact, we're taking additional efforts, for example, removing the initial use of an air sampler to test the level of alcohol on people's breath to ensure that we get their consent first before gathering any data.
Well, the next time you do one of these, or next couple of times, I don't know if you or someone in your department could quietly and anonymously just drive down the road and see if all these procedures work and go through the experience without letting them, not an official inspection, but because sometimes you put things on paper, but in reality, people follow the path of least resistance, and the public is clearly, we're hearing from them, they're concerned about this.
And I understand those concerns, and we've continued to take those concerns very seriously, we have sent staff out to these sites, and we regularly audit to make sure that all these policies and procedures are moving forward. We make sure to get the cooperation of the states as we move forward, as well as local law enforcement, to ensure that everyone is informed and safety is protected in these voluntary and anonymous surveys. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one other quick question. Ms. Farrow, several of my constituents have expressed their frustration with Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's safety measurement system. Roadside inspection violation data was erroneously issued by an enforcement officer, was later challenged in court, and the violation was dismissed. My constituents submitted an appeal of the dismissed violation through the data queue system, but the officer that issued the violation declined to repeal the violation for the SMS. These scores are having real-world impacts on a carrier's ability to find business, and erroneous violations could put a carrier out of business. So if it's not a valid administration violation, why is it not being removed, and how is this issue being addressed?
Mr. Chairman, at the heart of that issue has been a question about fairness, and so we have examined, we've spoken with a lot of companies and drivers about the issue. We have heard a lot of recommendations. And so late last year, we put together and published a notice for comment on a new approach to that very issue. And that new approach would establish, in the case where a state charge is issued at the same time as a federal violation on a safety issue in a roadside inspection, if that state charge is dismissed, the violation points would also be removed from that SMS system. If the state charge is downgraded, we would make sure the record is noted that charge has been downgraded. And so we are wrapping up. We received a lot of comments. It closed in January. We're wrapping that up, and we expect to proceed, we think, with a better approach that actually will likely address the concern that you raised.